Yo, five that diesel.
What's going on, CK Nation? It's your boy, the Boss Man CK, and on today, the episode of the Full Throttle, we're covering a huge racing weekend with NASCAR at Michigan, IndyCar at Gateway, and the continued journey of YouTube superstar Cletus McFarland as he competed in both the ARCA and the NASCAR Truck Series race. We're going to cover all that and more, plus we had an injury from a bad crash this past weekend. But like I said, we're going to cover that all and more on this episode of the Full Throttle. Let's get to it.
Never on fire, so crank up the volume. Let the good times begin. Got a cooler in the back full of ice and cheap gin. They see these.
All right, so Michigan International Speedway delivered its traditional high-speed banking action with drafting, fuel strategy, and side-by-side racing on the 2-mile oval. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series returned to Michigan with a stat field that included Cup Series stars from Carson Hocevar, Christopher Bell, and Ricky Stenhouse to even YouTube favorite Cletus McFarland. Cletus drove the number 4 Nice Motorsports Chevrolet in his second Truck Series start of 2026. And of course, everybody's questioning how would he do, because the last time we seen him in the truck at Daytona, he only lasted 6 laps before he spun out. One of the biggest stories entering the weekend was Cletus again pulling the double duty. Not only was he racing, but Michigan International also Speedway named him the Grand Marshal for the truck race, allowing him to give the command to start their engines before climbing into his truck. Which technically he ended up doing that command inside the truck because he was already strapped up and ready to go. So let's talk about Cletus for a little bit before we get into everything. The ARCA Menards race at Michigan may have been one of the most impressive stock car performances as far as qualifying went for Cletus McFarland. He qualified on the pole with a lap of 38.987 seconds, shocking many observers and earning his first career pole, which you would have thought he won the Daytona 500 by the way he acted when you watched his YouTube stuff. He was all excited about that one. Fans on Reddit and across social media celebrated the accomplishment, noting how far he's progressed from his early ARCA starts. Like I said, the last time we seen him in an ARCA car before this was at Talladega, and he almost won that race. And he led a bunch of laps. Many commentators highlighted that he was the only driver to break in the 38-second bracket during qualifying for the ARCA Series. Also, Michigan also featured fellow continent creator, his buddy George Squirrel Siciliano, aka Squirrel McNutt, also driving the Zero car for Rhett Jones Racing alongside Cletus in the ARCA Series. As I said, though, unfortunately, that's why I put out the reel that I did. The performance that we saw from Cletus Friday was a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie to you. He did qualify on the pole, and he had a qualifying car, and he led some laps. But the problem was when the car got tight, I don't know necessarily that he knew what to do, or how to figure it out, or what adjustments needed to be made, or where it needed to go, what the car needed. And by watching some of his in-car camera stuff, what I've seen, he was overdriving the corners. He wasn't really letting off in the throttle when the car would start sliding up. So, again, this is not a bash on Cletus, but again, this is why I tell you, CK Nation, we gotta live and we gotta grow with Cletus. Cletus is gonna take time. See, I think the impression people get off of him is the fact that you want this guy that's jumping in a YouTube car, from a YouTube to a car, you want this guy to be an overnight sensation. And then when he does bad, we're on his ass about it. But that's the problem. We can't be on his ass about it because, again, how many of you guys ever seen Cup stars like Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, not Joe Gibbs, Christopher Bell, William Byron, any of them guys get straight into a race car and win their first race out or do miraculous? No, they all had to start somewhere. So we have to continue to grow with Cletus and have patience and stop bashing him. He ended up finishing 14th after getting into it with Ricky Vargas, so it wasn't a great showing. His buddy Squirrel finished 10th. Then after the ARCA Series, the next day, Cletus moved over to the Truck Series, continuing his NASCAR development program with Nice Motorsports. His patriotic Eagle-themed truck became a fan favorite before the green flag even dropped. And again, he ran solid. I think the goal for that truck race was don't tear the truck up and make it past 6 laps, which he did. He had a few scratches here and there on the truck, but I think he learned something from the ARCA race and took it over to the truck race, and he ended up finishing 25th. Yes, that's not still a great number, but again, he finished the race in the truck. So he's making strides. Also, I don't want to not hate for the ARCA race. Congrats to Gio Ruggiero in the Joe Gibbs 18 on winning the rain-shortened ARCA race. And then the next day, it was Heim time again with his dominating performance and holding off lounging Caden Honeycutt to pick up his 3rd win in the trucks for Tricon. Which Caden Honeycutt was a little bit, I would say, butthurt over that, but, is what it is. That's the competitor in you. Alrighty. Meanwhile, the IndyCar Series headed to Gateway for one of the season's premier oval races. Gateway always produces close racing because of its unique 1.25 mile layout, forcing drivers to balance the tire management, traffic, and aggressive restarts. The event continued the championship battle as teams pushed towards the middle stretch of the season. The race showcased why oval racing remains one of IndyCar's greatest strengths, and with multiple grooves and dramatic late race strategies. And in the end, it was Joseph Newgarden picking up the win and getting his, I believe, 3rd win of the season. So congrats to Joseph Newgarden on getting that one. Hold on, I got an issue with the computer again. Alrighty. Also, the O'Reilly Series was off this weekend, so they will return next weekend for a race at Pocono. Now, I had to read, like I said, bear with me again. Like I said, IndyCar racing at Gateway remains one of the most exciting oval tracks in America. The 1.25 mile oval creates an intense racing because drivers spend very little time relaxing behind the wheel. Every lap requires complete concentration. Traffic becomes a major factor. Managing tires becomes critical, and restarts can completely change the complexion of the race. And like I told y'all, Joseph Newgarden ended up going to victory lane for that. Drivers fought aggressively for position. Multiple strategies emerged throughout the field, and some teams focused on the conservation. Others prioritized track position. As the race unfolded, those strategies collided. The result in an exciting battle among some of the best drivers in the world. IndyCar combination of speed, technology, and driver skill makes oval racing incredibly compelling. Cars approach speeds well over 180 miles an hour. So, and like I said, Joseph Newgarden going to victory lane. Also, let's talk about what happened with a crash in the Cup Series. As the Cup Series race went on, it was dominating I wouldn't say dominating force, but stage one was won by, I forgot who stage one. Anyways, Chase Elliott had a decent dominating car. So did Christopher Bell. So did Tyler Reddick. But Carson Hocevar. Let's talk about Carson Hocevar a minute. Hurricane. So apparently he's not making too many fans in the garage, or too many fans of his between his fellow drivers in the garage, after pulling a move on Sunday that wrecked a bunch of good cars on a restart. He basically ran over John Hunter Nemechek and turned him into other cars on the restart. And it took out Tyler Reddick, who had a dominating, really good car. So, and then Denny Hamlin was also involved. Also, Denny Hamlin had to start in the back again after qualifying on the pole because of some unapproved adjustments that he had to fix for the diffuser. So, again, Carson Hocevar, people don't like his driving. I can't really say I blame him, but it's aggressive, though. And here's the thing, though, folks. You guys fuss and moan, but did anybody ever fuss and moan about Dale Sr.'s aggressive driving, or back in the day? My question is aggressive driving only acceptable during the late 90s, early 2000s? Is it not acceptable now for NASCAR? That's a question I want to ask, and that's a question I'll probably pop a reel on for everybody to answer. Also, I broke news about it on the reel, but unfortunately, Joe Gibbs driver Christopher Bell was caught up in a bad crash with Chase Elliott in turn 3 and 4, and he suffered an injury to his wrist, and they confirmed yesterday that he does have a fracture in his wrist. But the good news is, for all you Seatbelt fans out there, he has been cleared to drive the car. So he will still be in the car this Sunday at Pocono coming up. So that's good news for Seatbelt and you 20 fans out there. This weekend highlighted something important about modern motorsports. Fans have more ways than ever to discover racing. Traditional television remains important. Social media continues to grow. And YouTube creators like Cletus McFarland are bringing entirely new audiences into the sport. When a creator with millions of followers enters ARCA NASCAR competition, people pay attention. And then you get the things like we've been getting. This ain't fair. How is he grabbing a ride like this? Should he deserve a ride in the Cup Series? Should he deserve a ride in O'Reilly? Should he deserve a ride in ARCA and trucks? And we're always, and you know what, here's the thing. Whether Cletus does good or not, we're always going to continue to question that. We're always going to continue to question it. Many fans who started watching because of Cletus are now learning about ARCA Series, trucks, O'Reilly Series, Cup, and IndyCar. That's healthy for racing. That's the plus side of this. Racing, because you always have the naysayers out there. And I was listening to the Sirius Satellite broadcast yesterday by Dave Moody, where a caller called in and said, you know, when you look at the grandstands at Michigan, which, what I saw, they looked sold out. There was a lot for the ARCA race. There was a huge amount for the truck race. And then the Cup race, it looked sold out. He said, when you look at that, that should be a sign to the ones that sit here saying, oh, NASCAR's a dying sport. Well, they're not dying. And you know what? I can agree with that. But here's the thing, though. The big picture is, if we don't want the sport to die, as fans, then we have to continue to show up out there at the track. That's all there is to it. you have to still continue it. Just like with Rockingham up the road. If we want racing to come to Rockingham, everybody wants the Cup Series to go there. If we want that, we have to continue to keep showing up. We have to keep giving them a reason to come. With Wilkesboro, yes, the numbers have fell down. And let me make something clear before I get into Wilkesboro. I'm not saying that each venue, like Rockingham, Wilkesboro, Darlington, or wherever NASCAR goes, has to be sold out every time. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if we don't want these tracks to go off into the sunset again, then we still have to continue to show up. We still have to continue to support the track. Help the track promoters make money. Help them do what they got to do to keep it going. Wilkesboro is another good example of it. We never thought when Wilkesboro closed in '96, did we ever think Wilkesboro was going to come back? No. But because of iRacing, Dale Jr., and then the fans showed up in masses for the All-Star race there. And now, look at it. We got a points race back there. We just got to continue to support the sport no matter which way it goes. Whether we stay with the horsepower traditional engines, which I hope to God we do, or we go to this lovely EV car. If we don't want sport to die, we got to stay with it. And that's the thing. Growth happens when new people become passionate about the sport. Michigan and Gateway provided perfect examples of mini motorsports and why it remains so exciting. You had elite NASCAR competition at Michigan all weekend. You had outstanding IndyCar racing at Gateway. And you had one of the sport's most interesting developing stories, Cletus McFarland, continuing his journey to try to be a NASCAR driver. Also, props to Denny Hamlin as well, winning at Michigan for 2 in a row, and tying the late, great Kyle Busch with his 63rd career win. Now, I'm not really going to make a big deal about it, but I am going to bring it up. I did hear Denny Hamlin make a comment Sunday on Sirius Satellite in Victory Lane when I think it was Steve Post asked him, did you ever think you were going to tie Kyle Busch or even get anywhere near close to Kyle Busch? And the comment he made was, I had to outlive him to tie him. Denny, all I can say to you on that one, buddy, is that might be borderline of, but nobody really, I think we all kind of in a way understood what you meant, and we know you didn't mean anything by it, and you did a great celebration by honoring Kyle with a flag hanging out the car and the 18 on it, and also, which I thought was really cool, if you didn't notice it, and I'll show it in the picture when I show it, he actually honored Kyle and Ned Jarrett. And you say, how's that? Well, if you look at the flag, the number 18 had Kyle's design for the number 8 on one side, and Ned Jarrett's design for number 1 for his car number was 11 on the other side. And we lost Ned Jarrett this week, so that was great to see. Also, one more segment to go over. We finally were able to hear from Richard Childress. He finally spoke to the media, and we were all wondering, what he had to say, and it was great to hear from him, and he supported us all, and he gave us all support, or not, he didn't support us, he thanked us all for the support, I'm sorry. And what we found out was what the question was before Kyle passed away, which was, what was Kyle Busch going to do? What was his future for NASCAR and after 2026? And Richard Childress revealed to us that this past weekend at Michigan was supposed to be the day that they were going to announce that Kyle had already re-signed to drive another season with RCR. So we found that out. And we also found out that Austin Hill will continue to be in the 33 car for the rest of the season moving forward. But one thing I will say to Richard Childress is I commend you on is the fact that you said no matter where Brexton goes, whether in the future, whether he signs with you and stays at RCR or he goes to Hendrick or anywhere else, the fact that you allow him to take the 8 with him wherever he goes is phenomenal and great on your part, and good job, and you get a thumbs up from us, from me, and I'm pretty sure the CK Nation. So good job, Richard. Alrighty, what a weekend of racing. Michigan again delivered speed, strategy, and drama. The Truck Series continued to showcase NASCAR's future stars, which they're coming, folks. The ARCA Menard Series provided one of the biggest surprises of the season with Cletus McFarlane winning the pole. Who would have thought he was going to get the pole? I was actually shocked when I read it, but so. Gateway reminded everyone why IndyCar remains some of the best racing anywhere in the world, and perhaps the most importantly, Motorsports gained new fans through the continued growth of personalities who are helping bring fresh attention to the sport. So just think about that as I close. Like I said, that's why I dropped the reel. And again, that's part of the reason why I think Cletus is a good fit for the sport. And anybody who comes into the sport is a good fit. Because again, he's bringing in fans, all new fans to the sport. And he's bringing in revenue and money. And anybody can see, so I think he's a good addition to it. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for this edition of CK Motorsports Full Throttle. Again, I just want to thank you guys again for continuing to follow, like, subscribe on all my media platforms, whether it's following me on TikTok or subscribing on YouTube. You guys are freaking awesome, and I love interacting with you guys every week. And like I said, I do this because I want to share my passion for motorsports with you, just like you guys do with me. Also, I visited Kannapolis this past weekend. It was a great adventure with my wife and a friend. Pretty cool to see the Dale Earnhardt Plaza. If you guys are ever near Kannapolis and you want to see some historic things, go to Kannapolis and check out the Dale Earnhardt Tribute Plaza. Pretty cool. So, with that being said, I'm the boss man, CK. And remember, we're always all gas, no brakes, and we're full throttle always for Kyle. And I'll see y'all on the next episode of the Full Throttle.